My name is Margaret Fermoyle Flagg. I am part-time faculty here at Boston College and I teach French. And my heritage is purely Celtic, as are my interests. And my father's family came out from County Laois in 1837. So that my father's family, the Fermoyles. But my father's mother's family is very interesting because they were from Sligo. There are several versions of which town, so I've got to figure that one out. But my grandmother was born in Ireland. Her name was Delia Gallagher Fermoyle. And she was born in Sligo, and the parents came out when she was about 15. Maybe even sooner. We have 15 on the records, but we're not sure. But it was interesting. Her father was involved in the 1848 uprising. And we have some memorabilia of that. But I think in the case, Delia Gallagher was a very interesting woman in that she was, as I said, Irish born, married into, at that point, a second generation Boston Irish, Cambridge Irish family. And I was very young when she died, and I had forgotten that she had a brogue. But my cousin Arthur and I, the only two offspring of Delia and her husband David, he said she had a very strong Irish brogue. So that is my story about that part of the famine. But I would like to say that for me, the interesting part is what the descendants of David and Delia Fermoyle were able to achieve. My father was a retail pharmacist, and he had a store, a pharmacy in Somerville. And in the back room was where the plan was put together so that the first Irish Catholic mayor of Somerville, John Pat Lynch, his election was planned, and also the first Irish Catholic state representative, his plan was concocted. And there was a gentleman, a graduate of Boston College, who had lost his first election to the Cambridge City Council, but he had heard of William Fermoyle. So he came to the back room of the pharmacy in Davis Square in Somerville, and he said, "Mr. Fermoyle, you just helped elect Pat Lynch and Paul McCarty. I just lost my first election, and would you be able to help me?" And my father said, "You look like a fine young man. I will help you out." His name was Thomas. My dad called him Tom. He was known as Tip O'Neill, and he became the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. And so that is, for me, the great way in which the Irish made it in America, by supporting each other, taking care of each other, and I would like to think that my father played a huge role. And I'll just tell you one very brief story. My father died in May of 1976. And 1 month to the day of his death, Jeff and I were working at that point, very Brahmin public radio station, public TV station. They had an auction every year. And we were, as my Jewish friends would say, table schleppers. We just moved the tables back and forth. And about midnight, 3 people came into the room. And one was Louise Day Hicks, who was a very controversial figure in Boston around the whole issue of school desegregation. The second was the then governor, Saltonstall, and the third was Thomas P. O'Neill. And he came over to me. I went over to him and I said, "You might remember my father had a pharmacy in Somerville," and he said, "Are you Bill, Leo, or Ray's daughter?" I said, "I'm Bill's daughter." And he said, darling, when Tip O'Neill was a big man, he was like 6'3", and he was big. He put his arms around me and he said, darling, if it weren't for your father and the Griffins, I never would have been elected to my first term. So I think the legacy of the Irish in America comes through the political process, because that was what was so missing in their background as a colonial people. Thank you.